I'm Dean. I'm the dad.
I'm Laura. I'm the mom.
And I'm Krysta. I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. Well, it's nice to see everybody. How is everyone? Feel like we've missed Krysta for a little while. She just came back from visiting my mom. So,
but you wouldn't know that because y'all got me in an episode.
Yes, well, we recorded it early so that nobody would know we were without our Krysta, because it made us sad. But our Krysta's home now, yay! So, where do I want to start? Well, if you want to help support the show, you can do that a couple of ways. Patreon is of course, the, simple monthly way to throw us a buck or two or a bone or two for, and you get cool stuff if you do. Then there's also Buy Me a Coffee if you want to do a one-time thing. And then most important, if you enjoy the show, please share it on social media.
Share it with your friends.
Exactly. If you don't enjoy the show, just keep that to yourself.
Yes, that's the rule.
Yep, that's the rule. And with that out of the way, we are going to get started on an episode that Krysta came up with. Now, Krysta doesn't ask to do many episodes.
But when she does, it's usually awesome.
It is. And this one turned out to be more awesome than I knew. On May 12th, 2019, a simple image of a yellow hallway appeared on 4chan, accompanied by the following text from an anonymous user. If you're not careful and you clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back rooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God help you if you hear something walking around, because it sure as hell has heard you. Since then, the internet legend of the back room has only grown, and there are those who say they have been there. Tonight, we travel, in spirit anyway, which is the only way to travel to this place, to the back rooms.
Now, let's hope none of us no-clip through the floor and go to the back rooms, because we know that would be a bad thing.
Well, first let's discuss no-clipping. It's a video game-related term, coming, I believe, most people believe, from the Doom games, where when one can move fast enough to move through boundaries that would otherwise block your way, like walls and things. It's called no-clipping. So, like I said, so basically what it's saying is it's possible to just escape the walls of reality into other places. And one of them, and a place you don't want to be, apparently, is these back rooms, as we will discuss. But first, before we go too far... Yes, my love?
I wanted to drop a PSA real
Oh,
quick.
that's right. I almost forgot. I forgot.
And I don't notice that it's been a big deal online and stuff, but I think we partner with other entities through our social media, through our close friends, through relations. Just in general, the online community tries to be a force of good as far as encouraging people to seek help, encouraging people to understand that every life is precious. We definitely, as a family and as a podcast, definitely want to make sure that anyone who's listening, if you need help, please reach out for help. On July 16th, in the continuous United States, the suicide hotline, which has been in working order for quite some time.
Right.
But it was finally updated for the United States of America for the suicide hotline to be given a 3-digit code. So as of July 16th, the 3-digit code in the United States for the suicide prevention hotline is 988.
That is correct. 988. It will get you to the same place the old 1-800 number would, but it's faster. And sometimes you just need someone to talk to, and it's full of people to talk to. And as Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss always says, you matter. And I don't care what you've done or what you've been through, you matter. And those are people that will sit with you in that dark place and help you get out of it.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
So we just want to make sure people know that's a number. 800 numbers are really hard to remember. 988 is super simple.
Yep, 988.
If you need somebody, that's what they're there for. We'd rather you reach out than not.
Right. So, yes, that is our PSA. Thank you, my love.
You're welcome. Krysta!
Krysta has weird facts, and I don't even know what they're about.
Me neither.
No, neither of you do.
She didn't share with us this time.
I didn't.
Our little girl's growing up.
Oh darn. Yeah, I'm going in the 8th grade.
Ooh.
Okay, Doc, let's not depress me any more than we already have. Thanks.
I didn't know that fact.
Well, we don't want you to grow up, Krysta. You're 13. I mean, I remember, like, when you were 6 and just bouncing off walls and super awesome. And now, I mean, you're still super awesome, but you're not the same little kid you were.
Yeah, well, today we have something a little different. It's not handed on one side where it's one category. It's a bunch of different categories. They're just creepy facts because I just figured there's a lot of rooms in the back rooms and it's kind of random there. So I figured let's start with something creepy, but also in a weird arrangement.
Okay. I like that.
Today's facts are from facts.net by Katrina. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Katrina.
Now, let's start with fact number 1. Disneyland's famous Pirates of the Caribbean ride used real skeletons. The engineers from Disney took one look at the fake skeletons that were intentionally brought in and thought they weren't creepy enough. This might be because prosthetics in the 1960s weren't as convincing as they are now. To offer a more authentic experience, Disney engineers enlisted the help of the University of California, Los Angeles, Anatomy Department for real skeletons. Gradually, they replaced the real skeletons with fake ones, but many believe that real skeletons remain in the attraction. Either way, this creepy fact about Pirates of the Caribbean ride is as fascinating as it is scary.
Cool. Now, see, that doesn't surprise me, though, because a lot of movies will use actual skeletons. It's why some people think that the rumor about the movie Poltergeist, which had a scene where they were trapped in like a pool with all these skeletons, that because they used real skeletons in that scene, that's why the movie was cursed. But the thing is, they use real skeletons in a ton of Hollywood movies because they're cheap and they look good.
Goosebumps 1000.
Goosebumps 1000?
Yes.
Like it gives her goosebumps times 1,000.
Oh, okay. I thought she was starting another fact. I was confused. I was like, wait, has he written 1,000 Goosebumps books? I didn't know that. I mean, he was written a lot, but I didn't know it was 1,000. Yes.
Yeah. Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street is based on a real story. Director Craven revealed that at the time, a boy was having disturbing nightmares and refused to sleep for days out of fear. Died in his sleep, but not before screaming for help in the middle of the night.
That's very sad, actually.
It is, but I suspect terrors
Yeah, probably.
and night terrors are so much worse for people. Yeah, and not sleeping is not something to mess around with.
Yeah, no, it can. Did we do a story on that, or was it too graphic? The people who supposedly stayed up until they completely lost their mind.
No, I've never done it just because it's
It's very graphic.
it's very graphic. It's also a weird creepypasta.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do a creepypasta, I kind of want it to be more than a one-off thing. And like Slender Man, we did Slender Man because there's a lot to that now. You know, it's grown in that it started the same way, just a post on a website, and it has grown to, well, we'll talk about how far it's grown. But yeah, so... But
We're
it's
getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
As many as 50 serial killers are on the loose in the United States. This number is according to the FBI. However, some, including homicide archivist Thomas Hargrove, speculate that around 3,000 to 4,000 serial killers remain active in the country.
Well, that's a little bit of a difference.
Is that the fact? I don't want to interrupt if there's more to read. Okay, see, that's creepy, but I tend to go with the first number being closer than the second, just because as much as we know about the psychology of serial killers, we really don't know everything. And like victimology, like a lot of times the victims aren't the same. It's why, like, a lot of people have said, why don't we do the smiley face killer? And that's a series of murders where a smiley face has been found near the bodies, but there's no consistency in the victims. There's no consistency in how they're killed. That doesn't completely rule out a serial killer, but it certainly suggests it's not one. Now, it's possible it could be like a conspiratorial group of killers, but I don't even want to try to wrap my head around that. Well, that's one of the reasons we're PG-13 is, so we're not here to drag anybody down, and certainly not our Krysta.
No, not even a little our Krysta, because we like our Krysta.
We're here to be entertaining, not depressing.
Which sometimes we are depressing, but...
Well, I always feel like even if we have to descend a little bit into depression, we always pull up into something happier and brighter when we're done. It's one of the reasons I like it when you get mad, because when you get mad, it's kind of funny. It's like, well, yeah, it is, because you don't ever get mad. So when you get mad, you like fume and you don't have words to say what you want to say, but you get so upset. Like Sharon Kinney, you got really worked up with her. And we've talked about a few other people that like you get like no, and no, and just I think it's hilarious and great. But like I said, that's the thing is if
listeners, if you think this is funny as well,
That's right. Please reach out and share. Interact with us.
interact. We don't bite.
Well,
I only bite when asked politely.
Don't go making promises.
I don't bite.
Yes, but you didn't say I don't bite. You said we don't bite. Like I said, don't go making promises you can't keep.
Well, we only bite each other, dear. So.
Well, okay. Unless we have fulfilled our parental duties for the night. Good night, folks. Just kidding.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Fact number whatever.
4, I think. I think you're on 4.
We made her lose count of her own facts, babe.
I think she's on 4. I could be wrong, but I think 4. Might be 3. 3 or 4.
It is common for children to hear voices. Apparently, parents don't have to freak out if their children can hear voices. Around 8% of children do, which is as common as having asthma or dyslexia. Hearing voices is definitely creepy, but at least it's perfectly normal.
Supposedly. According to them.
Well, and here's the thing, though. I mean, voices is one of those things that so many things sound like voices. The wind through the trees can sound like voices. You can't make out what it's saying, obviously, but it can sound like someone speaking. So it's I mean, like mechanical things can sometimes sound like a voice talking. Like, remember I had a ceiling fan that if you just sat and like listened, it was like someone whispering in the background. You couldn't hear what they were saying, no matter how hard you strained, but it was like, and so and kids' hearing is better because they haven't been exposed to the high decibels that we all get exposed to as we get older. So children can certainly hear better.
True enough.
Alright, now this one is not as creepy, more as all around gross. Are you embracing?
Okay, so trigger warning, gross fact coming up.
Are you embracing?
I'm embraced.
Are you embracing?
I've been braced.
Okay. Every day, a person consumes around 1 to 2 cups of snot.
Oh, I need that. I've had
More
allergies my whole life. Trust me, I know I've put down some stuff. Well, you know, when you do it like that, you make it sound like it's not like I sit around going, ooh, I think I'm hungry. I think I'm going to have some snot. No, it's not like that. But,
I just think the idea of consuming snot is nasty.
well, of course it's nasty. It's not like anybody. Okay, most people are sitting around going, I think I'll suck down some snot. But if you have allergies and stuff, you kind of know you have mucus going down your throat. Especially with all of the allergies and stuff that people have in this world. It's kind of...
And mucus kind of rolls down the back of your throat naturally.
And there are a lot of people like me who don't have adenoids. And when you don't have adenoids, you don't have anything to stop that. It is gross. I don't disagree with you.
More mucus travels into the trachea than it leaks out of the nose. So most of this ends up at the back of your throat. This is creepy science. This creepy science fact might gross you out. But it's completely harmless.
There you go.
There you go. It's gross, but it's normal. At least it's not trying to tell you that you swallow spiders in your sleep. You know what? They say that not as much as like that fact is based off of mathematics, but it's unprovable. Like they can't, it's unverifiable to any degree. Yeah, I'm sure some people do now and then, but certainly not to the level that they suggest. Like every adult human has swallowed 100 spiders in their lifetime or whatever the number is.
Yeah, I feel like
I feel like I've swallowed bugs before.
Oh, everybody swallows a bug now and then. Heck, I remember you being on your bike and swallowing a bug.
Ew, not a bite.
Oh, no, that was Blue. Sorry. That was Blue. I get you mixed up sometimes. Sorry about that. But yeah, actually, you and Blue look a lot alike. I mean, mind you, she's gone out. You don't look alike right now because your hair is different. But when you met, you guys could. I mean, you guys were recognizably sisters.
I find it funny though that Blue's non-biological brother looks like her more than I would.
Well, yeah, but that's, you hang out with people, you look like them. That's sort of a thing. I don't know why that works, but yeah, the longer you're with people, the more you tend to look like each other. Don't know what that's about. So, Krysta, was that your last fact?
That was my last fact.
How am I supposed to put it in class if you don't tell me it's your last fact?
You should be following along at this point. You're the one who gave me the 5 facts detail.
Yes, but you a lot of times will do extra facts or whatever, and sometimes you just surprise us at the end. So how am I supposed to follow along? As much as I love you, I can't read your mind. If I could, we would have done Backrooms anyway, because I would have just known that Krysta wants to do it. But no, you told me, so I knew to do the episode. Actually, before we get too deep into this week's episode, I do want to mention we may have some surprises lined up in the near future. We have a potential interview with a couple of guys that I really want to talk to, but I don't want to say anything.
Keep it quiet
Yeah.
until we find out if it's something we can actually do.
Right. And then I just found out that Sheila Grimm Erickson, who used to perform stand-up under the name Sheila the Trailer Trash Comanche, for a long time I referred to her as my mom in comedy, because she was the first person to sort of sit me down and tell me what I was doing right and wrong, and do it in such a way that it didn't hurt, which for me, my ego is so fragile that, even any criticism can just crush me. And she was able to get past all that and really help me. So, but she's Native American. She's had multiple paranormal encounters throughout her life. And now she's a nurse. And among the places she's nursed, she nursed at a hospice. And so she's encountered lots of odd things in her life and career. And so we'll interview her in a future episode. So that'll be cool. All right. So going back to Backrooms. So once the 4chan post gained fame, people began to write stories about Backrooms. They appeared in memes that spread across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. This spread the idea and the fame of this creepypasta far and wide. It's really the same way that Slender Man started. Also, I have to say, these Backrooms very much remind me of the idea of stale time presented in Stephen King's short novel, The Langoliers. And I don't know if anybody remembers that. They actually made a serial they adapted it into a short series, like they used to do with a lot of Stephen King stories. And Pierce, no, what's not Pierce Brosnan? Bronson Pinchot played the bad guy in it, and it was just. But the idea was, there's this plane, and like, so these passengers wake up, and one of the pilots, and like some of the pilots are gone, some of the people are gone, but like things are sitting in their seats, like their fillings are sitting in their seat where their seats were, or like if they had a metal rod inserted into a bone to repair it, that rod is on the floor near their seat, but they're just gone. And this plane has somehow flown into like this empty area where time isn't a thing. And so the pilots land at an airport, and it's just this creepy empty airport, and all they can pick up on any of the radios is this weird static that just gets louder and louder. And eventually what they realize is that once we live through time, it just sort of sits there for a minute. So like at one point somebody goes and grabs a can of soda and pours it. Well, it comes out, it's flat for a minute. And then after a few seconds, the bubbles all pop up at once, right? So it's like the time goes stale, and then it gets eaten by these weird energy creatures, which are the Langoliers. And the Backrooms remind me of that kind of a lot. So, good on Stephen King, because he did that well before this creepypasta was a thing. So, yeah. Now, Backrooms are also been associated with the concept of kenopsia. I hope I'm saying that right. Kenopsia, maybe. Kenopsia. If any of our listeners know how to pronounce that, please let me know.
I've never heard of it.
But it was first coined in the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, which I want that just based on the name alone. And it is the eerie, forlorn atmosphere of a place that's usually bustling with people, but is now abandoned and quiet. And so, for me, I have the perfect thing to describe kenopsia for me, which is, when I was much younger, I worked at a place called Metro North Mall. I worked at a couple different businesses inside the mall. I didn't work for the mall directly. But I remember it being a bustling place. I remember the courtyard of the mall, which had these like fake balloons that would ride up on these metal lines. They would ride up and down. I remember it bustling with people, especially around the holidays. I had friends who worked at a lot of the businesses there. Heck, I was once almost arrested there for yelling obscene words really loudly. I was 17, hanging out with friends. I thought I was being cool. Yeah. Not so much. But anyway, but a couple of years ago, they shut them all down. And then someone went through it and just filmed this mall, and like the escalators were all broken, and and it was just creepy. And you can still find online, and the guy who did it is actually a famous guy. He does it a lot of empty places he'll go through and just film, and it's just it was just weird and creepy, even though I know it was just a mall. And now the mall itself is just gone. They've torn it all down, which kind of makes me sad. But yeah, so that's kenopsia for you. Kenopsia. Somebody tell me how to pronounce that. Now, since its initial inception, Backrooms have been expounded upon by internet users, implying the existence of multiple levels of backrooms, each one creepier and more disturbing than the last. The most common addition being the idea that there are 3 levels to backrooms. These levels are level 0. Now, level 0 contains all the basics of the back rooms. The smell of moist carpet, the yellow walls and furnishings, and the constant electric hum of fluorescent lights. It has also been proposed that these levels are inhabited by hounds. Human... Yeah, entities. They're called hounds. These are humanoid creatures of manic intensity and fearsome intent. In my head, I equate these to like a Cthulhu monster called the Hounds of Tindalos. And they were strange other dimensional creatures created by Frank Belknap Long that can only enter our world through angles. So, like at one point, the main character in the story is basically spackling of the corners of his room, turning them into curves to keep the hounds away. And like there's a big storm that knocks the plaster loose, which lets the hounds come in and get him. But so these things kind of remind me of that, although they're not really hounds. They're described as people, but
they look like people, but like they're kind of like, you know how Five Nights at Freddy's in the cells?
Yeah.
They're like extended versions of those.
Okay.
No eyes in it or anything. It's just like a long, like, bony, tight, like, extended arm. It walks around the place, and if it chases after you, you're dead.
Yeah, but apparently on level 0, these things will not always chase after you. So, many users also say that level 0 has no-clip zones that can take you back to Earth, return you to the point of level 0 you started from, or take you to other levels with even worse creatures. So, the next level is what they call level 1. Now, if one chooses not to enter the no-clip zone and wanders around back rooms for days, one will eventually find themselves in a place with more industrial architecture. Or, if you no-clip into level 1, it appears to be a warehouse filled with a low-lying fog and pools of water randomly appearing on the floor. It is filled with the smell of damp. It is filled with the smell of damp carpet, or in some texts, old rotting wood. The fluorescents flicker more and occasionally shut down completely. This is when the beings come out. Beings inhabiting level 1 include doppelganger-like creatures called facelings, things that feed on your soul light called dullers, more of these degenerate humanoid hounds, and things called skin stealers, beings that steal a human form to sneak into our world and wreak havoc. This is posited by some to be the reason that some people go so completely suddenly change, engaging in drastic violent acts. According to some people, this is why people like go and like shoot up malls or whatever, and everybody's like, well, he was such a nice man. He always had, nice candy for the kids at Halloween or whatever. Is they're positing that he wound up on level 1 and a skin stealer got his skin, and that is the sort of thing a skin stealer does once it gets on the earth, is kills a bunch of people. So that's level 1. And then there's level 2. Now, there are people who will tell you there's a lot more levels. I saw one guy talking about what was on level 94. I didn't want to get into all that.
You shouldn't go too far into that, because it is a long story that go through all of the levels in like one video, and it takes them like almost 4 hours.
Well, here's the thing. I have come to find out that most of these people, I guess the largest group of users will say that there's only 3 levels. Because their thing is if you get through all 3, you can escape. Now, the other thing that's on level 1 that I haven't talked about is there are colonies there. And it doesn't make it clear whether these are people that live on level 1, like they were born there somehow, or that these are just people that got lost that sort of banded together to make a living space. But there are colonies. The problem is there's 2 of them. Neither one is incredibly big, and all the levels are roughly the same size, about 6 million square miles. So your chance of encountering one of these colonies, not great, not good. However, if you do, it's kind of a safe place, but you're still trapped in level 1. Nobody lives in a colony that escapes. So let's talk a little bit about level 2. Level 2 is one of the darkest levels, containing more industrial-like architecture. This level appears as long service tunnels with pipes lining the walls. It is described as being reached when one simply wanders around level 1 for a long enough period of time, and or sliding through a no-clip zone to level 2. And it features a much higher temperature than other levels. Survivors of the Backrooms claim that the only way to escape the level is to remain calm, stating that only when the Backrooms have become your home can you depart. The smell most associated with this level is the vague odor of stagnant water. Lights flicker here as well, and the level is much hotter than other levels. It is inhabited by facelings, hounds, skin stealers, and creatures called smilers. Twisted humanoids with huge smiles that reveal massive mouths full of sharp teeth. Beings on level 2 are incredibly aggressive, and the belief is most will attempt to kill wanderers on sight.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds like a fun place.
Smilers will mostly be in the dark, which is why you should not be in a very dark place. Like, they'll be in the shadow.
Yes.
And they can only run in the shadow.
Right.
But, like, if you're in the light, you need to stay in the light. And once the lights flicker, you do not want to be there for long.
Right. Yeah, level 2 is like level 1 in that the lights will go out from time to time, and they'll stay out for a fairly long time. So, yeah, and apparently there are some wanderers who just die from heat exhaustion. Also, level 2 is, there are boxes filled with things lost by other wanderers. There are also things that might help you, like the one thing that people say is in there is almond water, like in some of the boxes, and other things that are helpful, flashlights, things like that. But also, if you're finding a lot of boxes, you're near a lot of creatures, and that you shouldn't, like, everything on level 2 is a gamble. If you see a box sitting out in the open, it could just as easily be a trap as it could be a box full of things you need. So that is the overall level. And like I said, people will make memes and add levels, but most people that I saw talking about this refer to as the 3 levels, 0, 1, and 2. And like I said, the more I look at this, the more impressed I am. But it certainly doesn't have the worldwide appeal of Slender Man yet, which kind of makes me worry because people see Slender Man, and I don't want people winding up in these back rooms. Now, the Backrooms have been the subject of numerous short films on YouTube and TikTok, as well as several indie horror games. It is often considered a prime example of liminal spaces on the internet, and liminal spaces are the idea of spaces that trigger sadness, a sense of loss, or nostalgia.
Which is a lot of the people that say they go into that room are saying they felt like places that they feel like they've been to when they were a kid. People will also say that the back rooms have many more levels. Like, I have seen the number of of levels go up to 999, which is the highest that the levels have been to. So I think that is the maximum amount of levels that you can get to from no clipping and stuff in the Backrooms as well. Alrighty.
So, let's take a moment for a word from our sponsors. Hey, baby. How do you feel?
I feel sponsored.
Good to go. So let's talk about some weird experiences. Now, these all come from Reddit, so take it for what it's worth. One Reddit user claims to have been trapped in the Backrooms for what he thinks were several days, spending most of his time on level 0, being occasionally hunted by hounds, and even briefly spending time on level 1 before he managed to no-clip back to our reality.
Well, at least you made it back.
Yeah, well, and see, the hounds thing is what a lot of people take as what the user meant when he wrote in the original picture. If you hear someone wandering around, pray because they for sure have heard you.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what they think, is that he's talking about these hounds. Now, a second Reddit user claims to have been hunted through level 0 and says he still dreams about the hounds he encountered there. Like they somehow still have power in our world.
That's about right.
So, which, again, that reminds me of Frank Belknap Long's Hounds of Tyndallis, is that once you encounter them, they can always find you. And if you're any place where there's angles, they can get to you. And so, and that's sort of what he didn't say those things, but he definitely put out the idea that these things haunt his dreams, and he feels like they can get to him from his dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a random post on 4chan claims that the user is being haunted by a doppelganger he encountered during a visit to the Backrooms in his dreams. No updates have been made to the post for some time. So, those were the only examples I found of people claiming to be there, other than, really wild stories on Reddit that I refuse to give any credence to. Those were the ones that seemed most believable. But, if they're believable, and like the guy that was talking about it, the doppelganger that hunted him, did the doppelganger get him? Is that why you stopped posting about it? Or did he just talk about it once and then never again? I suspect he was just making it up. I suspect all these guys are, but it is an interesting question. So, Krysta, you wanted to talk. How'd you find out about this?
Well, one of the things that I start doing when I find a subject interesting is I will start looking into videos, posts, and more. But I came across one of many YouTubers that I watched looking at the whole backroom story. And one of the people that does videos and stuff on this is a user by the name of Tame Pixels.
Right. Yes. He was mentioned a lot in my research.
Yes. He is one of the things that got whole back room very public and very known. So what I did was I did some research on that, and I found out that there are many levels, and multiple levels are when people say they've gone into levels, or they say they feel like they've been in there before. They mostly mention the parts of nostalgia that they felt in the back rooms, and they will mention that they feel like they were being chased by these entities, which I've heard multiple of them, like back Smilers are a big one. Hello Kitty Man. More than that. There are multiple different rooms, and there are multiple different things.
I thought Hello Kitty Man was a joke.
It's not a joke. That is one of the rooms. I think it was in the 400s, but Hello Kitty Man follows you around. If you are lucky enough to have something like cute on you, he will let you stay there. He has like elongated limbs, and if you are lucky enough to bring something cute with you to Backrooms, you may make it to his level, and he will let you stay there for a period of time. Just don't stay there forever. That's basically. He is a
See, when I was reading about it, I thought it was a joke. I didn't even include it in my research. But
that's what I'm saying. I have seen these back rooms go up to 999, and there's not always enough time to do research about 999 rooms full of entities that people have come across, and it's really just a whole thing.
And that's why I went with what seemed to be the largest consensus of 3 levels. That's what most people seem to agree exists. But yeah, no, there's definitely some people that like.
They will also talk about pool rooms where you can hide in pools, but you have to stay there forever after you get into one and get in one. And there's an entity chasing above you. So you'll always have to see this entity, and you'll just have to stay in the pool forever.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it just... There doesn't... I don't see any truth to this. It's creepypasta, it's folklore, but I don't see anybody saying they've been there that seems genuine to me. And I guess that's where I'm going to go with my summary. My final thoughts is it's a great idea. It's cool, but I don't see anything real in it. I think it's all just internet folklore. And I hope it avoids the Slender Man thing where enough people are starting to believe in it that he's being seen in the real world, which, to quote Matt and Adam from Graveyard Tales, maybe Slender Man's a tulpas that is just fed by all this belief in him, and that's why people are seeing him. And I don't really want the same thing to happen to these back rooms because they don't seem like good places, nice places. They're not a place I'd want anybody I cared about to be.
No, and that's the really, the big shocker for me is so many people say that they have been there, and so many people, more and more people have been finding out that about the back rooms, and more people are starting to believe. And I'm just like, that's considering everything else, like all the other creepypastas, and the more people that find out about these creepypastas and stuff, the more people see.
So what you're saying is we're part of the problem. Don't believe anything we say on this show.
No, I'm not saying we're part of the problem. What I'm saying here is we need to just be careful about what we see on the internet. Because so many things can come to light, and so many things can actually start appearing because we are feeding the monsters what they want to hear, and they will start coming out, and they will start, being what they are. like your worst
And hun, your final thoughts on this whole thing?
It's a thing. I think it's a tale. And that's not to say people haven't experienced what they say they experience, but I don't think it's as much a phenomena as it may be sort of a mass hysteria that feeds into. So if people have mental issues, illness, sometimes we can connect so deeply or need to connect with something so deeply that we can feed into that idea of it. And I feel like if this is something that people are experiencing, that's what it is. It's those people trying to connect to that phenomenon, not necessarily that it's an actual place or actual thing.
So you
It's
think
more
it's
of
like
a
a mental reaction?
like an astral, like
I can see where you get that.
mental connection.
Yeah, you
I
see,
can see where you get
and for me, that's kind of the thing, is that there's any truth to these people, I think they're dreaming it. I think that they've got enough of it in their heads that they're seeing it in their dreams.
Yep.
And that would be creepy. I mean, it's all definitely very creepy. Very creepy idea. I would love to see a good movie made about it. I think that would be quite interesting. But I don't see anything real to it yet. Now, I hold out. I hold out that if you've experienced something and you want to tell us about it, I will take it on faith that you believe it, and I will not tell you you're wrong. But I certainly am open to hearing other people's takes on this. So that's where we are. I want to thank everyone for listening. And I want to thank Krysta for giving me the idea. This was a great idea for a show. So
I just really feel like the Backrooms is an interesting take on what people feel like they are experiencing. I honestly, partially, I think it's just their nostalgia taking over. Nostalgia taking over, and it's just like taking over their physical and mental state for the moment. And then they wake up out of they think they wake up out of a dream or something.
Or a fugue, a fugue state.
Yeah. So, I feel like they come out of this state and they feel like they've been in
That's very possible. I want to thank all of our listeners for listening. This is episode 103 for us, so we wouldn't hit this point without all of you. I want to thank Bill Barrett, who does our theme music. Thank you, Bill. And if you guys need music for a project, Bill's your guy. Just reach out to him, Bill Barrett, and that's spelled BEHRENDT at SBC Global. Thanks to Paige Elmore for the logo art that she did for us. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
Thanks to Aaron Gnerk of the Big Dumb Fun Show, who has helped promote us locally. Thank you very much. Also, feel free to join our Facebook group. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. Join us next week as we discuss one of my favorite cryptids, the Mongolian deathworm. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.